All right, looking at the back of this handout, we're going to be looking at a diagram and going a little bit more in depth into what we're seeing. So the first thing I want to do is describe the range. Now remember, your range is your set of y values. So I'm going to take a look at where I'm seeing this graph show up. Okay, and I'm only focusing on essentially the height of that graph. I'm only caring about the y values. Now here I see it starting at, this is at y value equal to 1. And it's going up all the way to 1, 2, 3, and 4 is my highest value. Now notice with this one, we're not seeing it be completely continuous, meaning I'm not seeing a nice solid line going from where my range starts to where it ends. There are spaces. Okay, this is called a discrete function, meaning it starts and stops, starts and stops. Continuous is when we're seeing one nice line that flows through the graph. So I see a y value of 1 from my range. This y value here is 2. I see a y value over here of 3. And then the y value of 4 up on top. So when we write this out, you have your range, and it's equal to that set of numbers. So you're looking at 1, 2, and these are commas in between, 3, and 4 is that last number in that set. So it's not an inequality here because I have discrete numbers that I'm looking at for my range. Now my domain, however, is a little different, okay? I do, if you kind of follow the line of the graph, I start here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a -6 is where it starts. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to follow my line. Now I have this open circle, but immediately at this open circle, I jump up to the second line. And I'm going up, I jump up again, and jump up again. So every x value is included until I get to this open circle. This open circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can talk about this one as an inequality. Now I have a closed circle at -6. So I can use the less than or equal to symbol because it is a closed circle. I'm going to use the x because when we're talking about domain, we are talking about my x values. Now notice I didn't talk about the height of any of these bars. I don't care about what the y values are. I simply care about where am I seeing my graph show up on my x-axis. I see this is a +6, so I'm going to write +6. However, it's an open circle, so I want to make sure to use the less than symbol. So this is how you could demonstrate what your domain is. You're simply looking at what x values are being used. Is this a function? Now, if I were to go through and do a vertical line test on my graph, would I have any overlapping points? And because we have these open circles here, here, and here, we would not have any issues. So this is a function. Yes. Now I mentioned earlier we have each one of these lines that show up. These are intervals, and we can see we talked about them a little bit with my range. I have an interval that goes from -6 to 5, 4, 3, -3, another one that goes from -3 to 0, then we have 0 to 3, and then 3 to 6. So individually we have 4 intervals that make up my functions. This is called a step function because you're going straight across and then jumping up to your next step. All right, we've done these practice problems in the previous one, so I'm going to look at my value of -4 for x. 1, 2, 3, -4. There's where I see it appear on my graph. And what is that output? That particular point has a value of 1. Next one, -0.0001. All right, so I can see we have 0 being right here. -0.0001 is going to be something very, very slightly off that line. Okay, so I can see though that whatever I have, anything less than 0 all the way down to -3 is going to be on that second step of my function. So anything that is on, I can zoom in a little bit more here, anything that's going to be on this second step has a y value of 2. And then lastly, we'll look at x is equal to 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's right here. Okay, so let's follow that point. Now we have an open circle, but remember, open circle is not part of the solution, so I'm going to go up to that last step, and I see a closed circle at 1, 2, 3, 4 would be my output. Now, let's take a look at our last section. Oh. Okay, so we're matching the domain for each interval. So I'm going to try to break this up into all that my different intervals are. So I have this one here. I'm going to try to use different colors so they stand out a little bit more. All right, we have this one in blue. I have my next one, I guess we can use green. And then my last one, I will use, let's try purple. Okay, so we're looking just at domain. So I'm just looking at the x values. I do not care about the y values. Okay, all right, here I have a straight line. So I am looking at x is less than or equal to 0. So you can see that these values over here, my inequalities that I'm seeing over here on the left, are already in order from yellow, blue, green, and then purple. So I don't have to do anything there. Now, here I have a straight line. Okay, so we are looking, if you think about your hoi, we are looking at a horizontal line. So you are going to have it be that y is equal to some number. So let's think about what y value is on this line. So it is below your x-axis, so we are looking at a negative value. So that would be letter B. Y is equal to -2. Okay, so similarly, I can look up at my green section. So between 4 and 7, it is also a horizontal line straight across, and that y value is at a +2. So I see that would be A. So for 28, I'm going to put A because I also see that that would match. Now let's focus on the characteristics of the blue and the purple. Okay, so my purple is this section here, and then my blue would be up here. Now, when I look at my blue line, I see that it is an increasing line. My purple line is decreasing. So let's think about what that means for our slopes. If you have a line that is increasing, like I see in the blue, it means that my slope should be positive. So between C and D, I want you to focus on which one of these slopes would be positive. So, slope, we're looking at what do you have next to your x value? And between the two, I see that in C, technically this is a 1. So I do have a positive slope. That means for my blue, I'm going to put C, which leaves then for purple, I would have a negative slope, and I would put the letter D to represent that one. Okay, all right, last part here. So we're looking at how many intervals are making up this function. So how many different colors did I use? I used 4. So that means I have 4 intervals. Which interval is the range increasing? So range, remember we're looking at y values. So I know that my yellow and my purple intervals are not increasing or decreasing. They're staying straight across. And we talked about purple, my slope was decreasing. So that means when I'm looking at my range for my blue, okay, the interval that I have would be between 0 and 4, and it's including both. So that's a less than or equal to sign, and that is my x value. Okay, at which interval is the range decreasing? So once again, we talked about this before. That was my purple section. That's where you see your slope going down. My range would be decreasing. So that interval is where all of my x values were greater than or equal to 7. What's the value of f is -2? So I'm going to look at -2. That would be right here in my yellow section. And my output for that one was also -2, so the x and the y value matched on that one. And then lastly, value of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is going to be in my green section. And my output for that one has a y value of